Islamic Republic will obliterate us after the ceasefire. They will kill every one of us.
This regime should end. If you leave this regime with these wounds, they will harm all of us.
I think there's so much fear because the regime, as far as we can tell, has survived. It's been significantly weakened, particularly in the eyes of Iranians in a lot of ways. They've been seen as almost being a paper tiger, right? This nuclear program, they spent billions and billions developing. It's been largely destroyed. So it looks very weak, but there's a real fear they're going to use this weakness to really crack down and make it clear that, no one should think of having another uprising. No one should even think right now about challenging the regime. In the last decade, there have been just kind of a wave of different protests, some related to the Women Life Freedom movement that we saw in 2022, some just tied to economics, trade unions. We've seen these waves of protests, and I think the regime is extremely worried that we're going to see another one. Last week in Washington, Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Michael Leiter, basically had the opportunity to speak kind of directly to Iranians through this global satellite channel, Iran International. Literally the main question posed to him, there were many, but kind of the theme of the main one is, in some ways, why didn't you finish off the regime? And now that they're still standing, what can you do to help us? Because we're going to get basically slaughtered.
People are afraid that when mullahs are in power and they are wounded now, they will do unto the people of Iran the things that we haven't seen the likes of it.
And we're already seeing it. They've arrested 700 at least people. They've executed some people. And I think those numbers are likely going to rise. Obviously, they're looking for spies because the regime was definitely penetrated, given what the Israelis did during those 2 weeks as far as, pinpoint assassinations of scientists and military men, in their apartment blocks, in their bed. So it's not like that's a myth that there were spies inside Iran working for the Israelis. That seems clear, but they're also, targeting what it appears to be just regular human rights activists. There's a woman named Nargis Mohammadi who won the Nobel Prize for her activist work. She's been out of prison, but her people are worried she's going to be sent back. There's stories that political prisoners on death row in Evin prison, the main one, have sort of disappeared, so have they been executed? And I think whenever the regime has been in sort of a weakened state, they go after the minorities. They go after the Kurds. They go after the Arabs. They go after a religious sect called the Baha'i. In recent days, we've seen the Jewish community being forced to have a ceremony to protest their allegiance to the supreme leader and their abhorrence of the Zionist movement. So different parts of that society are being targeted. And one analogy I've heard repeatedly in my reporting in the last few days is the end of the 80 to 88 Iran-Iraq war. There was just a massive crackdown. Literally thousands were executed as the regime looked to kind of consolidate power after that war. And there was a lot of concern that you could see something similar. And from what we've seen, neither the Israelis or the Americans have made it clear that they see it's really in their power or interest to kind of stoke an uprising.
The bandwidth in the United States right now for anything that even smacks of regime change. Very small bandwidth. The ability for Israel to act on itself for regime change is extremely limited.
The Israeli government did kind of put out messages during the wars. Netanyahu, the prime minister, very much gave speeches saying, you guys should uprise.
Tonight I wish to speak to you, the proud people of Iran.
He said, I stand with you, Israel stands with you, but it's not in our capability to sort of execute regime change. And I'd say, I talked to a number of U.S. officials, current and former, who've worked with Trump, and they really do say he is not sort of interested in exploiting this moment to try to bring regime change. So that's a big reason why I think we see so much fear from the Iranians we've talked to and from the human rights groups we've talked to.